So let's dive into one of the most profound schools of Hindu philosophy, Advaita Vedanta. It's a journey right into the heart of reality itself, and it all kicks off with one deceptively simple question. Think about it for a second. Who are you? Are you your body, your thoughts, your memories, your job? Well, Advaita Vedanta says that our usual answers to this question, they miss the mark completely. It argues our real identity is something so much more vast and fundamental.
You see, the core problem, according to this philosophy, is a huge case of mistaken identity. We are constantly, and I mean constantly, confusing our true, unchanging self with all the temporary, ever-shifting stuff in our lives. Our body, our mind, our feelings. And this fundamental mistake is the real starting point for this entire journey.
Right, so let's unpack this a little. Because according to Advaita, this isn't just some abstract philosophical puzzle to think about. This case of mistaken identity is the single root cause of pretty much all human suffering.
Okay, so there's a specific word for this error, avidya, which translates to ignorance. But it's not just about not knowing facts. It's an active process of superimposition. Think about how we do this all the time. We say, I am my job, or I am a parent, or I am this feeling of anxiety. We're constantly projecting our sense of I onto things that are, well, not us. That automatic projection, that's avidya in action.
So what's the big deal? Why does this matter? Well, the consequence of living in this state of avidya is that we get trapped in what's called samsara, this endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth that's just driven by suffering. We're caught on this cosmic treadmill because we're fueled by the illusion that we are these separate, limited little individuals in a world full of other separate, limited individuals.
Okay, but that brings up a really obvious question, right? If we aren't just our bodies and minds, and this whole world of separation is the problem, then why does it all feel so incredibly real? To get that, we need to wrap our heads around the concept of Maya.
Now, Maya often gets translated as illusion, but you gotta be careful with that word. Advaita isn't saying that your desk or the chair you're sitting on are just hallucinations. It's saying they are pragmatically real. You can use them, they exist in our shared experience, but they aren't ultimately real. They're just temporary appearances that depend on a deeper, unchanging reality. It's kind of like how a wave is real, for sure, but its ultimate reality is the ocean.
So to make this idea a little clearer, Advaita breaks reality down into 3 levels. At the very top, you've got paramarthika, the absolute, ultimate reality, which is called Brahman. Then there's vyavaharika, which is our everyday, empirical world. It's true within its own context. And finally, you have pratibhasika, or apparent reality. This is stuff like a dream, or when you mistake one thing for another. It only feels real to the person experiencing it.
The classic analogy for this is perfect. Imagine you're walking in the dark and you see a snake on the path. Your fear is 100% real, your heart is pounding, that's the apparent reality. But then someone turns on a light and you see it was just a coil of rope all along. The rope is the empirical reality. The snake was just a superimposition, born from your ignorance in the dark. Advaita's really radical claim is that our entire experience of a world of separate things and people is a superimposition, just like that.
So if our everyday world isn't the whole story, then what is? This is where we get to the very heart of Advaita Vedanta's answer. And it all hinges on understanding one absolute reality by looking at 2 crucial concepts, Atman and Brahman.
All right, let's break these 2 down. First, you've got Brahman. Think of this as the big picture, the ultimate, absolute reality of the entire universe. It's the source and the substance of everything that exists, described as pure being, consciousness, and bliss. Now let's turn that lens inward. That's where we find Atman. This is your real self, not your personality, not your thoughts, but the pure, unchanging awareness inside you that's aware of everything else. It's the silent witness. And this all leads to the core revelation of Advaita, which is summed up in these amazing phrases from the scriptures called the Mahavakyas, or the Great Utterances. And the most famous one is this, Tat Tvam Asi, that you are. So here's the thing you really got to get. That you are is not some poetic metaphor. It's a declaration of identity. It means that your innermost essence, your real self, the Atman, is one and the same as the ultimate reality of the universe, Brahman. There is no separation. There are not 2 realities, which, by the way, is exactly what Advaita means, not two-ness.
I know. That is a huge, mind-bending idea. So how on earth do you go from just hearing it to truly knowing it?
believing it isn't enough. It has to become a direct experience. And that's where we turn to the practical side of things, the path of knowledge, the journey from ignorance to real understanding.
The path is laid out in a really clear threefold process. It starts with shravana, hearing. You have to take in the knowledge, study the teachings, listen to a qualified teacher. But you can't just accept it blindly. That leads to step 2, manana, thinking. You have to reflect on it, question it, use your own reason to clear up every single doubt you have. And only then can you move to the final step, nididhyasana, meditation. And this isn't about emptying your mind. It's about a deep, sustained contemplation that finally flips the switch and turns this intellectual idea into a direct, lived reality.
So you follow this path, where does it lead? What's the end game here? Well, it's a state of profound freedom, a state known as moksha.
The goal is moksha, liberation, freedom from that endless cycle of suffering, samsara. Now, what's so critical to understand is that moksha is not some heaven you go to after you die. It's not a reward you get for being good. It's simply the natural result of vidya, of clear knowledge. It's what happens right here, right now, the moment you permanently fix that fundamental case of mistaken identity.
And get this? This is maybe the most revolutionary part. This state of liberation can be realized while you are still alive. This is called Jivan Mukti, being a living, liberated one. A person like that continues to live in the world, but they're no longer bound by it, because they know, without a shadow of a doubt, their true, free, unchanging nature.
You can just hear the absolute certainty in the words of Adi Shankara, the most famous teacher of Advaita. This isn't a hope or a belief, it's a declaration of fact from direct experience. My nature is ever free. I am self, the supreme unconditioned Brahman. I am pure awareness, always non-dual.
So we'll end with a question to leave you with. If the self that you think you are, the one with a name, a body, a history, if that self is ultimately part of the grand illusion, just a case of mistaken identity, then what is the constant, silent awareness that is able to know all of that? That question right there is the very heart of this entire inquiry.